Achilles was the strongest warrior in the world. He killed 100 men in one battle. No sword could cut his skin. No spear could break his armor. Then one small arrow hit his foot. He died in minutes. How can the strongest man in the world die from one small wound? And why do we still tell his story 3,000 years later? To answer that, you have to go back to the beginning. Every hero has one weakness. That weakness makes them human. The Greek heroes were not normal men. Many were sons of gods. Their fathers lived on Mount Olympus. Their mothers were human women. This mix gave them great power, but it also gave them a strange fate. The gods wrote each hero's story before he was born. No hero could escape his fate. Not with strength, not with courage, not with luck. One hero shows this clearly. His name was Heracles. He was the son of Zeus, the king of the gods. Zeus was powerful, but Zeus had a wife. Her name was Hera, and Hera hated Heracles from the day he was born. Then the gods started testing them. Hera wanted Heracles to suffer. She sent madness into his mind. In that madness, Heracles killed his own wife and children. When he woke up, he saw what he had done. The pain almost destroyed him. He asked the gods for a way to fix his crime. The answer was cruel. He had to complete 12 labors, 12 tasks that no normal man could survive. The first labor was a lion. Not a normal lion. This lion's skin could not be cut by any weapon. Heracles fought the lion with his bare hands. He won. He wore the lion's skin as armor for the rest of his life. The next labors were even stranger. He had to catch a deer with golden horns. The deer ran faster than any arrow. He chased it for 1 full year. He had to clean a stable that held 3,000 animals. The stable had not been cleaned in 30 years. Heracles changed the path of 2 rivers. The water washed everything away in 1 day. 12 labors. Almost no one believed he would survive even one. He survived, few did. By the end, kings feared him. Monsters ran from him. But even Heracles could not escape one truth. Strength does not protect you from fate. This truth would return again and again in Greek stories. On the island of Crete, a different kind of monster waited. Its name was the Minotaur. It had the body of a man and the head of a bull. King Minos kept it inside a maze. The maze was called the labyrinth. No one who entered ever found the way out. Every year, Athens had to pay a terrible price. 7 young men and 7 young women were sent into the maze. The Minotaur killed them all. This happened year after year. One young man decided to stop it. His name was Theseus. He was the son of the king of Athens. He volunteered to enter the labyrinth himself. Everyone thought he was going to die. But in Crete, a princess saw him. Her name was Ariadne. She fell in love with Theseus immediately. She gave him a secret gift before he entered the maze. It was a ball of thread. Theseus tied one end of the thread at the entrance. He walked deeper and deeper into the dark. The maze twisted in every direction. Finally, he found the Minotaur. They fought in silence. Theseus killed the beast with his bare hands. Then he followed the thread back to the light. One thread saved his life. Theseus became a hero across all of Greece. But his story also carries a warning. Later, on his journey home, he forgot an important promise to his father. This mistake would bring great sorrow. Even heroes make fatal errors. Even heroes forget the people who love them. Far across the sea, another young man wanted his throne back. His name was Jason. His uncle had stolen his father's kingdom many years before. The uncle made Jason a promise. Bring back the Golden Fleece, and the throne is yours. The Golden Fleece was the skin of a magic ram. It hung on a tree in a distant land called Colchis. A dragon guarded the tree. This dragon never closed its eyes. It never slept. Jason knew he could not do this alone. He built a ship called the Argo. Then he called the greatest heroes in Greece to join him. Heracles came. Other famous warriors came too. People called this crew the Argonauts. The journey was long and dangerous. They fought monsters on strange islands. They passed through rocks that crashed together in the sea. Many sailors died before they even reached Colchis. When they arrived, the king of Colchis refused to give up the fleece. He gave Jason impossible tasks instead. Plow a field with fire-breathing bulls. Fight an army that grew from dragons' teeth. Jason could not do this alone either. But the king's daughter watched him from her window. Her name was Medea. She was a powerful witch. She fell in love with Jason, and she decided to help him. Medea gave Jason a magic potion. It protected his skin from fire. She taught him a trick to defeat the dragon-tooth army. With her help, Jason completed every task. Then love changed everything. Medea used her magic to put the dragon to sleep. Jason took the Golden Fleece from the tree. Together they escaped by ship, sailing through the night. Jason got his prize, but he got it through someone else's power, not his own. This detail matters. Later in his life, Jason would abandon Medea for another woman. Medea's revenge would become one of the darkest stories in Greek myth. Even a hero's victory can hide a debt he never pays back. Years passed. A new story began, bigger than any before it. It started with a simple choice. 3 goddesses argued about who was the most beautiful. They asked a Trojan prince to decide. His name was Paris. Each goddess offered him a bribe. One offered power. One offered wisdom in battle. One offered the most beautiful woman in the world. Paris chose the third gift. But the most beautiful woman already had a husband. Her name was Helen. She was the queen of Sparta. Paris took Helen back to Troy with him. Some stories say she went willingly. Other stories say he took her by force. Either way, Sparta wanted revenge. Helen's husband called on every king in Greece. They had all made an old promise to protect her marriage. Now that promise came due. A massive army gathered on the shore. 1,000 ships crossed the sea toward Troy. Among the soldiers stood one man everyone feared and respected. His name was Achilles. Achilles was young, but he fought like no other man alive. His mother was a sea goddess named Theseus. When Achilles was a baby, she tried to make him immortal. She held him by one heel and dipped his body into a magic river. Every part of him touched the water. Every part except the heel she was holding. No one knew this secret yet. Not even Achilles. The war at Troy lasted 10 long years. Neither side could win. The walls of Troy were too strong to break. The Greek army was too large to defeat. Both sides lost thousands of men. Kings died. Princes died. Common soldiers died by the thousands. And still the war continued. Then pride destroyed a hero. In the 10th year of the war, Achilles grew angry. The Greek commander took something precious from him. Achilles refused to fight anymore. He stayed in his tent while other men died. His closest friend, Patroclus, could not watch this. Patroclus put on Achilles' armor. He rode into battle, pretending to be Achilles himself. The trick worked for a while. The Trojan soldiers ran in fear. But Hector, the greatest prince of Troy, was not fooled for long. Hector fought Patroclus and killed him. When Achilles heard the news, something inside him broke. Grief turned into rage. Achilles put on new armor made by a god. He ran onto the battlefield alone. Nothing could stop him now. He found Hector outside the walls of Troy. The two men fought in front of both armies. Achilles was faster. Achilles was stronger. He killed Hector in single combat. The Greeks celebrated. The war seemed almost won. But fate was not finished with Achilles. One day, Paris stood on the walls of Troy with a bow. He aimed an arrow at the Greek soldiers below. The god Apollo guided his hand. The arrow flew toward one small spot. It struck Achilles in the heel. The same heel his mother once held. The one part of his body the magic river never touched. The strongest warrior in the world fell to the ground. Within minutes he was dead. Every hero has one weakness. That weakness makes them human. Achilles was gone. But the war still needed an ending. One more hero found the answer. His name was Odysseus. Odysseus was not the strongest man. He was not the fastest. But he was the smartest man in the entire Greek army. He designed a plan. The Greeks built a giant wooden horse. Inside its body, soldiers hid in the dark. The rest of the army sailed away, pretending to give up. The people of Troy found the horse on the beach. They believed it was a gift from the gods. They pulled it inside their own walls. That night, the hidden soldiers climbed out. They opened the gates from the inside. The Greek army returned in silence. By morning, Troy had fallen. 10 years of war ended in one single night. Odysseus had won the war. But winning the war was not the end of his story. He still had to sail home. The journey should have taken weeks. Instead, it took 10 more years. He angered the god of the sea, Poseidon. Poseidon sent storms to punish him. Odysseus fought a giant with one eye. He sailed past monsters that lived in narrow straits. He resisted the songs of creatures that lured sailors to their death. One by one, he lost every man who sailed with him. By the time he reached home, Odysseus was completely alone. Home was harder than war. His wife had waited for him for 20 years. Many men wanted to marry her, believing Odysseus was dead. When he finally returned, no one recognized him. He came home in disguise as a poor beggar. Only then did he reveal who he truly was. Only then did his long journey finally end. So why did Achilles die from one small wound? Because his mother could protect almost everything. But not everything. One small spot remained untouched, and that spot was enough. This is not just a story about a warrior. It is a story about every hero in this history. Heracles suffered because of a moment of madness. Theseus forgot a promise that cost his father's life. Jason took a shortcut that he never truly paid for. Achilles had one small weakness on one strong body. Every hero has one weakness. That weakness makes them human. Perfect heroes are forgotten. Human heroes live forever.